It's time to swarm the 402. Welcome to the Nebraska Hawkeyes. These guys are brave. They're Hawkeyes, living in enemy territory. Listen, these guys are way past their prime, but they're still Hawkeyes. They're spreading the Hawkeye hate to all of Nebraska. The frost advisory is canceled. Corn Huskers, more like corn suckers. Are you ready for this podcast? Let's go Hawks!
All right, welcome back to the Nebraska Hawks. This year, Hawkeye Oasis, located in a non-bowl going to Oasis. We are excited to be back with another Swarm the 402 podcast. We are back with the boys once again. We got Jerry, we got Matt, we got Russ, we got former Iowa Hawkeye running back Jordan Canzeri. How's it going, man?
Oh, going great. Happy that you guys hit me up. A little short notice, but I'm all about it. I'm very spontaneous, so happy to be on.
That's short notice. You're going to class to join up anyway, Jordan, so don't worry about that. But I am positively thrilled, man. Jordan Canzeri, 2015, 2 touchdowns, 2 of the most memorable runs in the Husker Iowa-Nebraska rivalry. Thrilled to have you on, man. So thanks for making it on short notice.
Oh, more than happy to. Every time we traveled to Lincoln, I had a good time at least. So
yeah, Jordan, I want to let you know, Jordan, I need to let you know, Jordan, that I tried to tell Jerry like earlier in the week. I'm like, we need to let Jordan know in advance about this, and he's like, he's a running back. He plays off instincts. Like if we tell him at the last second, he'll be able to boom, just make it and go. If we tell him too soon, it's not going to work.
Yeah, just got to react. As I mentioned to you guys earlier, it's not like I got anything much going on for me right now.
we're gonna hit that story too, but we gotta introduce. He hopped off real quick. Iowa Hawkeye, whether he likes to admit it, kicking legend Kyle Schlicker, no longer the guest picker. He's a legit part of the Swarm the 402 podcast. Kyle, welcome back, sir.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be a part of it all.
Nice. Do we have a graduation ceremony planned?
I think we're going to have to initiate Kyle some point. So you just let us know when
he's ready. Hoping for.
Guys, I was in the Shields Sioux City this weekend on Saturday while the game was going on, and the only jersey numbers they had on the rack were number 1. That shows what a legend Kyle Schlicker is in Hawkeye lore.
Hey.
So the money he's got to be making off royalties has to be astronomical.
Yeah, Matt has a number 1 jersey as well. Matt's yours is number 1.
Yeah, that's all my jerseys are all number 1. Those custom ones are all
enough to pay for my monthly Costco trip.
And Jordan, not to be a suck up at all, but right here.
Hey, not to be a suck up at all, but
yeah.
Jordan, he's lying. He's a major suck up. So
hey, I won't say no to it.
Only people I like. All right.
Just makes me wish I hadn't thought of it.
So, guys, it's a big deal right now. It's Hate Week. Big rivalry game coming up. We got guys here that, have been in the trenches there in the Big Ten. Jordan has actually played in that game. Before we get into the big Hate Week stuff, though, and the big Heroes game, Iowa at Nebraska, we need to crown our winner for this season, for the regular season title. After formulating and calculating with our research team here, we had to get out some
down, Jerry.
some high level calculators And, the math doesn't do so well right here. So I had to get the research team in by a few percentage points, just barely. The winner this year is Mr. Matty Ice, Matt Meyer.
Nice.
Nice job, Matt.
Bravo.
Oh yeah.
wow.
Love it. That is awesome. For those of
Already.
you listening, Matt just put on a king's crown. So,
Yes.
Oh,
The winner, the king.
You need to wear that.
If I would have had to put that on, I'm glad I didn't win.
That's jealousy talking right there.
Oh, yeah.
Matt, you need to wear that the whole podcast. That looks amazing.
Looks like a second grade art project.
I bet one of his kids made it.
Yeah.
They've had their hands on this thing a lot and have mutilated it a little bit. But
Matt, anything negative that you're hearing from these guys is straight jealousy that they weren't able to
that
win.
they're not the king of
it's lonely at the top
of the podcast.
Don't we all wish we could have been prom king and had that for our memories? So
You're not wrong. It was homecoming king, but whatever.
Yeah, if I was wearing that, I'd be calling everyone a peasant.
We're going to refer to Matt as King Matt.
Peasant Jerry, you watch your mouth.
Okay.
I thought we were an autonomous collective.
So there are some unwritten rules, fine print in this whole picking thing that none of us really read, but the research team told me afterwards that in the fine print it said that at the tailgate this Friday at the game, the winner is not allowed to get his own beer or open his own beer, that all the losers have to hand him and take him his beers every single time the whole weekend.
Yeah.
We signed off on it. So, hey,
Good deal.
I'm sorry. Hey,
I'll have something special for you, Matt.
I bet you will. I
yeah.
bet you will.
We'll hand you a beer, Matt. Don't worry about it.
If it feels warm, don't drink it.
Yeah. It's warm.
Hey, Russ, if Matt can't make it in the stadium, you're carrying him. Okay.
I'll do it.
All right. I might be able to get him part of the way, but I'm no Russzilla. I cannot do it. All right, boys. Usually we break down all the Big Ten games, like we talked about pre-show. We're really just going to be talking about the history of the Iowa-Nebraska rivalry, some memories from when Jordan played in the game, some stuff from Kyle that he had experienced over time, cover some stats, some thoughts about what it's like being in Nebraska as a Hawkeye fan. And then we'll end up at the end, we're going to pick the Wisconsin-Minnesota game because that has a lot of implications on who will win the West. So we threw a curveball at you guys on that one, but I'm going to tell you right now, Nebraska, I don't love to say wonderful things about the Huskers, but bear with me for a minute. Nebraska 3-8, in my opinion, probably the best 3-8 team in the country, battling people down to the wire. They don't look like a 3-8 team. I can tell you that right now.
They might be
Iowa's
the best 3-8 team ever.
Yeah.
They really could be. So, I know, and Jordan and Kyle, I really want to get your guys' input on this, but, Iowa being 9-2, not looking like the best 9-2 team in the country. So it's going to be a pretty even matchup, I think. Go ahead, Russ.
He took his crown off.
Matt, put your crown back on. You're the king, man. Come on.
Okay, you can resume.
Thank
now.
you, Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
Russ is our bouncer. He keeps stuff in order. So
Thank you,
that's
Russ.
good.
Thank you, Russ.
Yeah, that was good stuff. But Jordan, I want to get your take real quick before we go into this. The week of the game before you guys have played Nebraska in the locker room in practice. Can you tell us a little bit about what the preparation's like? Does it change at all going into that final week? And what are the conversations like with the coaches and the mood in the locker room?
The one thing, Ferentz, as I'm sure many people know, he's traditional, but in the same sense is he doesn't really I felt like when it didn't matter who we played, if we knew the team was going to be a tougher outing, he would remind us of that, but he treated every game as the same. Like, it wasn't just because we were playing Nebraska that, we, other than their music playing in the locker room and pissing us off, there wasn't much of a difference. But at the same time, too, I would say just at least of like the time of the year, Hy-Vee always did a good job, and Ferentz and the coaches, like when we would have like a group family team dinner for Thanksgiving, since we're not allowed to go home at this time. I would say that it's also a nice little time for us to, kind of just be together in a good type of vibe other than football. But yeah, we know every time we go there, we're going to, have a good team, play us strong. But, there's the operation behind it isn't really much different.
Yeah. No, business as usual.
Jordan, that 2015 game, that was just the following season after the infamous 2014 and the Nebraska AD course at the time, saying, we had to analyze where Iowa was as a program, and they let Pelini go. But yet you guys were having that phenomenal undefeated season that year too. Was there any mention of that? Was there anything from the Nebraska side of things, or was it mostly focused in 15 just on what you guys had going on and putting a finish to the season?
I would say for us, our main focus was just putting an end to the season, just getting our next win. Coach wasn't really talking about it being 12-0, putting that pressure on. But, there was the mentions of, they beat us in 14 at home, tough. We definitely thought we had it late when Jake Rudock threw me that touchdown late. So that was a tough loss. So to that 14 year was obviously a lot of fueling for the 15. There was a hell of a lot of guys who deserved a lot more, and we lost really close, tight games that we should have won. And it was just a season that I felt kind of let slip because, guys that are still in the league now, we had a ton of players. But that was definitely the sense that we wanted our revenge, but, we all wanted to finish 12-0.
All right. Well, hopefully we're going to be able to finish this season 10-2, which is a pretty darn good record. And it's a nice way to end the season going into bowl preparation. I don't know if you guys can really speak to this, but Kyle, I want to start out with you. Have you, been a part of a bowl prep the week to it when you lose that final game? Because I've heard from other guys that those weeks leading up to the bowl game, if you lose that final game, it's not so pleasant.
It's not. I remember going back all the way back to 2002, and I was just a measly freshman traveling to the Orange Bowl, playing USC. And I remember, there was a ton of hype on that game, and, preparation, the media. I mean, that was the first time in a long time that Iowa was ranked that high going into a bowl game, playing against, a very highly ranked team. Yeah, it was sour, I guess, for me in particular. Like when we lost in the way that we did lose to Texas in the Alamo Bowl in 2006. I remember Brodell. I think Brodell had. I think he had 2 or 3 touchdowns that game. I can't remember. He had a spectacular game, and I remember that was pretty heartbreaking. Just knowing that was my last game, as a Hawkeye too, and all those weeks prior, prep for that. Yeah, it is, man. I mean, all the time that you invest as an athlete, with your coaches and your team, and the plan. You're executing the plan, and you're sacrificing seeing your family on the holidays. I mean, there's a lot of time and energy invested in that, and it definitely sucks when you don't pull out with a victory. It just doesn't. I've got the sweatshirts, I've got the bowl rings, I've got the gifts. When I look at those things and I know that we didn't win, it doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah. Jordan, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. For us, I do feel like 14 when we lost against Nebraska, and then we're prepping for Tennessee, we kind of went into like a winter camp. It was definitely a little more, I would say, harder and vigorous. And I know they changed things up years after, but that was something that was upsetting, going off of a loss and then prepping for going against Tennessee. We wanted, again, to so much redeem ourselves. And then we saw what happened down in Tennessee, Florida, Jacksonville, and that didn't pan out very well either. But yeah, it's definitely a little feeling or sense when you end the season with a loss versus ending it with a win.
Yeah, I was there for that Tax Slayer Bowl, so that was not fun for any of us. But
but I'd rather have the win.
Yeah, no, that is true. All right, guys. So right now, one thing that I don't know if a lot of people are talking about is Nebraska's coming in with the number 4 offense in the Big Ten right now. Iowa has the number 4 defense currently in the Big Ten, and right now the flip flop at there. Nebraska's got the number 8 defense. Iowa with the number 10 offense. So want to get your guys' thoughts on the upcoming game between Iowa and Nebraska this week. Adrian Martinez is going to be a lot to deal with, Matt. King Matt. He's thrown for over 2,800 yards this season, and he's their leading rusher as well. So sometimes dual option quarterback can give us fits. Matt, what are your thoughts on the game this Friday, and how do you see it going?
Yeah, it is going to be a tough one. I know I agree with all that, with Iowa's defense number 4, Nebraska's offense number 4. Iowa's defense is allowing 17 points. Nebraska's offense is putting up a lot more than that. It's going to be, I think, a tale of turnovers in the end. I think Nebraska is turnover happy, kind of gets a little crazy. We're going to get some pressure there on them, and if we can turn those turnovers into points like we failed to do a lot this season, if we can actually turn those around, I think that we should have no issue with Nebraska this year. But I haven't seen that yet. I'm still picking Iowa. It's Nebraska's -3.5. I think that's just because it's at home.
Yeah.
Our O-line's getting better. Our numbers show we're the number 10 offense in the country, but our O-line's getting better. Padilla's running the offense a lot better. We are putting up more points towards this latter end of the year than we were kind of in that mid-season. So, after those few opening games that we surprised a lot of people winning. I think things are looking a lot more promising on the offense too. So,
yeah,
I'm optimistic going into this thing.
All right. Well, I like that. Russ, Nebraska gave Wisconsin all they could handle. And again, Nebraska does what Nebraska has done all year. They play everybody tough, and they somehow figure out how to lose it at the end. They do everything they can to lose it. So, Russ, what are your thoughts on why that's been? There's the Matt Meyer beer.
I was waiting for Kyle. I thought I was getting ready for matching his up, but there it is.
There we go. I'm gonna have to put a disclaimer you must be 21 years or older to watch this podcast. All right. But Russ, what are your thoughts on why you think that Nebraska has been able to play teams so well, and then down the stretch, it's just a boneheaded mistake or two consistently that keeps them out of it?
Well, I think they're too reliant on Martinez. I think their coaches put so much pressure on him to throw the ball and try and stretch the field on almost every down. Just watching, this last Saturday against Wisconsin, I mean, they were trying to stretch the field constantly and really staying out of the middle of the field and staying down the edges. So that certainly, softened up that secondary and spread them out a little bit. I'm with Matt. I mean, I feel very optimistic about this weekend. I mean, I personally think we're probably going to end up seeing 2 quarterbacks on the field.
Really?
A couple of sets. I really do. I think we might see a little trickery. I think our defense, just like Matt said, I think we're bound to intercept Martinez more than a couple of times. And, we've always been very good. Parker's always been very good scheming against their triple option that they keep trying to run. So I think we can shut that down and just make Martinez try and beat us, and that's not going to happen.
I love it. Beautiful. like a skilled surgeon breaking it down. All right, Jerry. The Heroes game rivalry itself, Iowa is leading the series 7-3, won the last 6, but overall, Nebraska leads the series 29-19 with 3 ties. Russ, and not Russ, but Jerry, are we going to be able to make it 7 years in a row this year, or What are your thoughts, Jerry?
I think it's along the same lines of what everybody else has been talking about. It really comes down to the turnover game. We've had our most success when we've capitalized on turnovers. Martinez has been prone to throwing those turnovers. Do I like our chances of our secondary against Martinez? Definitely. But, we've definitely been burned in a lot of these offenses too. I mean, Purdue, they exploited us quite a bit on those crossing patterns. But ultimately, in the end, I've really got a lot of faith in Phil Parker being able to make the adjustments and being able to game plan the way it needs to be game planned. So, maybe it's the homer pick, but I really like the chances of our secondary against that and the ability of our defensive line to get some pressure on Martinez and make him have to run a little bit. So I'm going to go with the Hawks as well.
All right. Jordan, I want to get your thoughts on this next. From what you watched this season, just a lot of us feel, and I want to get your perspective as to what you've seen the difference between Spencer Petras and Alex Padilla, the two of them, how the offense has flown during the game with you being an offensive player, what you've really seen this year, and then what your thoughts are on the outcome of the game on Friday.
So, I mean, I do like Alex. Spencer, he is a good quarterback. I just feel like there was a point where things were forced and there was just some dynamics. I don't know if it was the offensive schemes. I don't know with it just injuries and different things happening that there wasn't as much chemistry. And then we realized too, what Russ alluded to is all of our games that we were winning early on before we ended up losing to Purdue, we were scoring off of turnovers. We were averaging starting field position right around the 50-yard line. And then once Riley Moss went down, what happened? Our turnovers weren't the same. Purdue, they exploited us and then things changed. But the one thing that I like a lot right now with Alex and Brian Ferentz is they're opening it back up a lot. The one thing that kind of upset me a little bit, that I'll be honest, is when we beat Penn State, who was a receiver who made a huge play but barely got any licks afterwards or for the whole season. It was number 6, Keegan Johnson. Yeah. But now what happened? Last game, he was utilized a lot more. And then the other freshman receiver, Arlen, number 10.
Yeah. Yep.
We're starting to open it up to new players and giving other guys opportunities. And I feel like our offense is now going to be at a different level. And the one thing that I honestly think is very good for our benefit is just how it's kind of like weird to say, but at the same time, you'll get it, is like it's better the closer the types of games there are work in our favor. Yeah. Nebraska's played everybody super tight, which is good. Yeah, they are a very good team. They've held other teams like Ohio State with their offense. They only scored 26, but at the same time, they only scored 17. And Ohio State's defense isn't that stellar. They're a little better now. But the one thing that I just think is low scoring games always go to our favor. Like we always play better in those situations. And I also agree with Russ with Martinez. He will make those mistakes. We do very well against running quarterbacks. And I agree as well that I think Phil's going to have something for him. So I think we're going to win it.
Jordan, and then I kind of want to hear what Kyle thinks after that too, if he's had any sense of that. But, Jordan, you were really there during a time where there was the transition between Jake and to CJ. And, bring us into what that feeling was like in the locker room, and if you maybe see potentially in the locker room now with, we're not sure who the starter is going to be for sure. Mm-hmm. What's that feeling like as a player, especially on offense? Do you guys have opinions on who should be playing, or do you guys just, do the politically correct team thing? Like, what the hell's going on down there? Or do you guys
Russ Zilla has to hydrate.
Russell just takes a gallon of water and just straight up starts glug, 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 glug.
You're going to get up like 20 times to piss tonight, Russ.
Anyway, pretty sure Jordan, you only held that with your thumb and your pointer finger.
Yeah. But anyway, Jordan, what's it like in the locker room? Do you guys have an opinion on who's going to be, who's the starter should be, who they want in there? Or is it just, hey, who's in, we're going to go?
If I was still playing, I would tell you that no one has opinions. But yes, there are opinions in the locker room. Guys definitely have, favorites of who they think should be doing this. And that's just, us basing athleticism. But the one thing that does trump it all is, our chemistry as a team. You even saw with I can't remember who it was. It might have been Charlie Jones, who commented on how Petrus was just all on the sideline, making sure Alex knew what he had to do, was going around communicating, doing as much as he could on the sideline. And, when you have guys like that, that's what matters, because everyone realizes obviously what is the most important thing, winning. And you can either sit there and sulk and be pissed that you lost your position, or you can be willing to help out and just do what you can for the team. And Spencer's definitely done that. So I would say, as bitter as he might be with the situation, he just got to, stay as positive as he can. And right now, I do think Alex is the best for us. So I know that Ferentz has definitely done a good job as well. The same thing with CJ and Jake. It wasn't, so much of a flicking off the switch and just saying goodbye to the other, but it was talked out thing and explained through process. And I'm still very close with Jake. I'm still very close with CJ. So it's cool, at least, when you still have that brotherhood, even though obviously once Jake left and went to Michigan, he wasn't a fan of some guys after that. But you got to do what you got to do for your career.
They I know you're friends with Jake too, and we got just a little feedback from some guys that they said it was fitting that he ended up at Michigan because he seemed like a Michigan man. That was what they said.
Not sure what that stands for, but I would say, but when you look at it, they're right where everything kind of worked out. Jake was Harbaugh's first year. They went down. I think they won the Orange Bowl against Florida. And he did very well. And then CJ did amazing for us, and we went 12-0. So it's like CJ brought that, like Jake could run. Jake, he's very analytical, and he's just a very smart guy. And CJ was that, I'm down to put my body on the line. He was diving, sliding, everything. So they different players, but they both helped us out in a lot of ways.
Oh, we love to joke around when CJ would scramble down the field. It was like a train wreck. He just kept getting down there, and he did great, but it was just like stumble and bumble and rumbling all the way down the field, taking hit after hit after hit. And he'd get banged up. By the end of the year, he could barely go because he just didn't, like you said, he put his body on the line.
How many times he limped back to the huddle and act like nothing was wrong? We're like, bro, you can barely walk.
Yeah,
he was a warrior. He was definitely one of the hardest.
It's like those Varsity Blues scenes where they had to like tape up Billy Bob to the other lineman to get him to stand up and play the game.
And that's another reason why CJ will go down as an all-time favorite for Hawkeye fans. Kyle,
So Jordan, did you guys realize in 2015 all season though that he had that sports hernia then that the fans never found out about it till the end of the season? Were you guys pretty well aware of what was going on?
Yeah, like he talked about it a lot, that hit he took a Pitt. He was just never the same after that and just dealt with it all year long. But yeah, the point that it was literally at that point in time and all season, he's still Indiana diving over whole bodies of people to score and, doing all what he did just shows you the type of athlete he is and the type of, competitor. So yeah, like I said, definitely one of the toughest guys I've met.
That was the third or fourth game of the season against Pitt. We were at that game. Remember, Adam? And we won that. That was like the turning point of the season. Like we're like kind of knew it was going to be a special year. And man, that's a long time to be dealing with Pitt.
Oh, yeah. So we were like in the third or fourth row, Jordan, and like the Pitt players are like turning around talking smack to us the whole entire time. And
it was awesome.
What now? What now? And then after the game was over, we're like, what do you got to say now? They didn't have anything to say. They
every time we play Pitt, it's a good time. Like 14, 15, we beat them. But and then I think it was my freshman year, 11, when Cavante had the 3 touchdowns, a crazy comeback we had.
Yeah.
And when we traveled to Pitt in 14, their baseball team took photos of like a bunch of the staff and players and roasted the absolute hell out of people. And I couldn't help but laugh at all of them too. Like they were so funny. But I feel like playing Pitt's always a good time. Yeah.
Huh.
Kyle, I don't know about you, but the thing I heard about that story that's the most unbelievable is that Matt and Adam actually remember that game. So, they their tendencies as well as I do. Their memory was not impaired.
I may have spilled a lot of my
kick. You guys
what was that, Jordan?
The rest of them. I said I doubt after Marshall's kick, you guys remembered the rest of the night. But
oh yeah. What Matt, do you remember that we had a lady sitting like right in the row in front of us, and she had the text blown up so big on her phone and she's texting people. We could read it 2 rows back, and we're reading it out loud. And she's
Adam, you're breaking.
What the hell are you talking about?
You're a robot.
So Matt, like we're on
your connection. Your connection went.
Man.
Matt, do you want to go ahead and continue the story?
Anyways, what the story was Adam is trying to say is that the lady in front of us had a text message screen. Like the words were blown up so big you could only read like one word at a time down the screen. But it said, "Hey, just so you know, our seats are really good. We're on the 60-yard line." We're all blowing up. Like, how did you get these seats, lady? You didn't know where you are.
Where is that?
It was pretty awesome.
Stadium.
So yeah.
Oh yeah. But that's always a good time.
Yeah, it is. Adam, we got you back yet, or
can you hear me?
Now we can. Yeah.
There you go.
Can you see me?
Yeah. We can.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
All right. Yeah, that's Nebraska internet for you. All right. All right, so we need to move on. Jordan, what are actually you were talking to Kyle a little bit on that. Jerry, didn't you have a question for Kyle? You kind of alluded to.
Oh no, I was just asking Kyle if he actually believed that you guys could remember the game just from his experience with you. So,
all right, all right.
I'm telling you right now, we're into this podcast. I can already tell you that what Kyle used to bring, Jordan is now. We brought Kyle down, and Jordan, if you choose to join us, anymore, we're going to bring you down just like we did Kyle. You're classing it up too much right now, so we'll bring it to our level.
Well,
all right. I'll admit I finished a White Claw before getting on. And I'm not normally a White Claw guy. They were brought to me, and again, like I said, in my situation, I'm not saying no. Drink those real quick.
So you're White Claw wasted, huh?
Not there yet. But I woke up yesterday. It was a different day.
Okay.
That's great.
So Jordan, real quick, you've alluded to it twice. Go ahead and fill the audience in on what your situation actually is.
Oh yeah. So Iowa dealt with ACL sophomore year. Understand that. Japan tore my other ACL, broke my hand with the Kansas City Chiefs. Big. You're putting your body on the line, playing tough football. But I recently ruptured my right Achilles from playing co-ed flag football.
Yes.
The worst injury to go through. Playing the least physical game.
How many of those seltzers were involved in that?
I wish they were, so I'd have a good excuse. But literally just, and it was honestly funny because my buddy I was playing that I knew, he was like trying to grab my flag. So I'm just literally staring at him and laughing. And I was just like doing this little shake and bake at him. And then all of a sudden I just felt the pain and I dropped. And I'm like crawling, but like, like I said, I'm used to the pain. So I didn't like really care. I was just crawling to the sideline. I'm like, gosh, who kicked me? They're like, what? I was like, who kicked me? It felt like somebody kicked me so damn hard. They're like, no one touched you. I was like, yeah, that's when I knew I did it. But it was good. Got surgery last Thursday. So now I've just been kicking it back, laying down, staying indoors, and drinking the things brought to me.
Nice.
No, geez. That's a lot. That's a lot better of a story than Jerry working out to a Richard Simmons VHS tape and tearing his MCL.
Coincidentally, at a Nebraska game not long ago, I was walking and I was like, "Oh, I think I think I tore my ACL, and Russ was like, "No, I kicked you." So,
so you actually got kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just kind of the same thing, but in reverse. So
Yeah. I
All
don't want
right.
to be kicked by Russ. I can tell. I don't.
No, you don't.
Hey, Adam, we haven't heard from Schlicker the Picker.
That's who I'm getting
On
to
his
right
official
now.
pick. All right.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on the game this Friday? What have you been seeing from, you watched the Iowa play, you've seen Nebraska play. What's your guess on what's going to happen?
Well, I'm a little nervous about this one. I know that Nebraska having the record that they have, it has been a hard fight. I think they've just been a little bit unfortunate. I think this is going to be a close one. You know what? I'm pulling for my man, Caleb Shudak. He hasn't had a game winner yet, and this is his only and last season with the Hawkeyes. So, you know what I mean? I shouldn't say only, but as a starter. So I'm always going to pull through for the kickers when the teams are, even per se, like offense, defense, stats wise. I always pull for the kickers, man.
Yeah. What was it? It wasn't last year, was it, or 2 years? Keith Duncan.
Keith was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah. Van Valkenburg caused the fumble last year, and we caught it, and then that was the ending of last year. So it goes down to the wire almost every single time. So Kyle, are you thinking we're going to pull it out there?
I think we are, man. I think it's going to be between a 40 and 50-yard field goal for Caleb Shudak to win it, man.
Okay.
I lived vicariously through game-winning field goals since I never had any true game-winning field goals. I had a couple, clinchers, but I never had that true game-winning experience, so I can only live vicariously through the kickers.
Do the Huskers have a kicker right now? I mean, their kicker's terrible, isn't it?
All right. Well, I got a very interesting stat for you, Matt. I got here. I'm going to pull this up. That's interesting that you should say that. Nebraska is only 8 of 16 in field goals this year, which is not the worst in the Big Ten, but second to last. Iowa's number 2. We're 18 for 21.
Yeah.
Right. I think Shudak missed a 56-yarder or something. Yes, Saturday.
Yeah,
that's one of his 2 misses all year.
That stat is skewed though, because I think we've taken a lot more chances with our kicker because of the trust that we have in him. So it's been a little bit different than Nebraska's. They missed some chip shots. So
it's bad.
Special teams is huge, especially in a tight game like this. We need our man Torrey Taylor to really do his thing. Yeah.
That I was shocked to see that fumble on the punt. He is so sound usually, and it just was very uncharacteristic. But
I bet that won't happen again.
Knock on wood right now.
You could tell he was pissed at himself.
He was pissed. Yeah.
His body language was not happy.
As a fellow specialist, I guarantee he immediately the next day was out there with his snapper, just 100 snaps, just,
go.
Those guys, I learned from Kading, man. It was all about repetition. And when little things like that happen, especially when it's very rare and random, it really eats at your nerves. And, spend the whole next week going over all those drills to get it right.
Sure.
Well, we need you guys to know, Kyle and Jordan. I know you guys can't be there because you guys are a long ways away, but the Nebraska Hawkeyes tailgate will be fueled and primed and ready to go when we go into the stadium. So we're going to be bringing that energy, bringing that heat.
Better be filming a lot of stories. I'll live through y'all.
We'll be doing some live streams.
We offered to Kyle last week that we'd put him on a FaceTime and just kind of walk around with him in the deal. We can do the same thing with you, Jordan, if you'd like.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah, I'll put my leg in there too.
I'm down.
Yeah. I love it.
That's great.
All right. So, Jordan, we're going to get your pick here and see what your thoughts are on the game. But we wanted to talk to you a little bit about more about the 2015 game. Rush for one of your better games of your career. Rush for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. You had busted off a 29-yard run and a 68-yard run. I almost got murdered after your 68-yard run, and that's the famous one we've told the story about lots of times, where a lady tried to come down about 4 rows on top of people and attack me when I was cheering when you made that run. And she was apparently there was a Nebraska player that went down on the play, which I hadn't even noticed at all. I wasn't. First of all, I'm not a monster. I don't want anybody to get hurt no matter what. And so I'm cheering and going crazy, and Matt's about getting ready to beat up because he keeps cheering Wiseman for Heisman to everybody, and everybody wants to kill him. And this lady is just, I saw the fury in her eyes. She wanted to kick the crap out of me. And she came down after me in a straight rage. And she's like, listen, I'm not going to say all what she said, but she said some pretty scary things. Luckily enough, there was enough level-headed Husker fans in the crowd that are like, lady, this is why we have a bad reputation. Like, calm down. So
I've always wanted to ask that on the other end, like, because I actually was just talking to a reporter yesterday who was interviewing me, and he mentioned that he was from Nebraska too, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't wear my Nebraska stuff, but," and I was just telling him, I always love playing, I always have a good time, yada yada yada. But the one thing I thought about, he's like, "So how are the fans?" I was like, "I mean, they've been cool to us, but I don't know how they are out and tailgating and when you're out and about. How are they hostile?"
I think that's, that was something we're going to bring up, and I think we'll just transition into that real quick, just to get your guys' perspective. I'll kind of save my thoughts. Russ, you've lived in Nebraska for quite a while now, and, big Hawkeye fan. What have your experiences with Husker fans been like?
Outside of my family, they're all pretty quiet. But my wife, my 5 kids, my 4 brother-in-laws, everybody I know are Husker fans. So Thanksgiving week is a little difficult for me. I'm forced to eat at the kiddie table. So I go squeeze into the kiddie table in the other room, and that's where I'm allowed to eat.
Okay.
We appreciate the loyalty.
Yeah. I don't think Russ doesn't have the same problems that like Matt would have. Russ, they take a look at Russ's 24-inch pythons and they're like, all right, like we're going to talk some crap. We'll bring it over to Matt, the King Matt. Matt, I know for a fact, because I've been with you, you've had some altercations with Husker fans, and some things have gone sideways.
They seem to not like me, and I can be literally sitting at the bar, drinking my beer, minding my own damn business, and somehow things escalate without me even knowing. That's happened a couple times. There
was a bar situation where after the Iowa win, we may have been chanting IOWA in a bar in Nebraska and doing it over and over and over again. And Matt maybe or may not, I can't confirm nor deny, have a Hawkeye championship belt he was raising over his head. And he got tackled and thrown to the ground, and a whole melee broke out in the middle of a bar. And
I got blindsided, to be correct. To correctly put it, I had no clue I was going to get pushed to the ground.
Typical Nebraska thing to do, hit you when you're not looking.
Yeah. It happened.
It did happen.
Jerry, what's your experience has been like? You've been living here for quite a while. I know you've had some good and some bad. What do you feel like the Husker fans are like?
Oh, you know what? For the most part, being a Hawkeye fan is actually what's made me stand out and made me a lot of fans with Husker fans, because it's something different, and it gives you something to kind of go back and forth about. The games, I haven't really had any issues because I'm always next to Russ, and I mean nobody's going to pick on me if I'm hanging out with Russ. So he's like,
Mr. Cooper, tell him your story.
Actually, my best memory is actually, it was actually a good one, because, as Russ and I are exiting the stadium for a tailgate at a halftime one game, I had a nice lady ask me if I had ever had anybody tell me I looked like Bradley Cooper. And I was like, well, no, I am not. I know I have not. And she's I proceed, and I said something to Russ, and Russ was like, well, is she married? And she scooted up next to us, and she heard him say that. She's like, Yes, I am married, and I also have a lazy eye. So apparently, and she'd had a few pops. So apparently, if you're drunk, married, and with a lazy eye, I look like Bradley Cooper.
Why even disclose the lazy eye? Like, is that an issue? She comes across and she's like, let me just tell people.
So Jerry was saying once her lazy eye finally caught up, she realized.
That's right. I'm like the anti-Mad. I'm like, that's my worst memory. And I mean, I got told I looked like Bradley Cooper. I just,
even if it was from a blind person, take the compliment.
Well, she wasn't blind, Jordan. It just had lazy eye, It's just,
You tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself.
Not making fun of people. The totally true story. That was exact. Russ was there. She fully disclosed that.
Well, anybody listening with a lazy eye, we do care about you.
I apologize. This was not. Yeah, this was strictly what was relayed to us.
Jordan, I'll tell you, like my mindset on it is just from the casual fan experience at a tailgate and like hanging out is I'd say 90% of them are pretty cool. They have the 10% that are ridiculously terrible and, want to run their mouth and say stuff, which, Iowa, we have a few of our fans that do that as well. I will say when you spend a lot of time with Husker fans, you start to dig through the layers of delusion and see that, they're truly do believe that the 90s are right around the corner again. And it could happen any moment. And so that 90s success, I think Michigan hasn't fallen as much, but like a Tennessee and a Miami, kind of experience the same type of things where there's a ton of bitterness. You were on the top, you were a juggernaut in the 90s, and it's been a very long, hard pill to swallow over especially the last 10 years, the drop that's taken and how far down they've gone so quick.
I feel like it's a big thing, though, has to be a little more of like what happens behind scenes, like athletic directors and different things like that, because you look at their experience, they fired how many coaches that had 9-win seasons, and then he got Frost, who's absolute terrible, and then they still have not. They've been giving him a chance, so we'll see. But for me, I've always looked at Nebraska's program and just always wondered. I'm like, why did they fire so many coaches that had like winning seasons?
Yeah, well, that's a great point, Jordan. And to actually be specific, since Kirk Ferentz was hired at Iowa, Nebraska's had 9 athletic directors and 6 head football coaches since 2000. So since that time, Iowa has had only 2 athletic directors and 1 head football coach. So they're definitely, if you can get the right guy in there, stability definitely makes a difference. So, all right, boys, let's get over here to Jordan real quick. That was a great question. Jordan, what are your thoughts on the game this Friday and how you think it's going to end up?
No, I think we'll get the win. I think it'll be like 20-23 type score. Like, if it is by a field goal or anything like that, just late second. Or for me, I was even thinking once you guys brought out the stats about how bad they've been at kicking, I almost wanted to take 3 more away from Nebraska and say 17-23. But like I said, I know it'll be a close game, but I do think that we'll take it away.
Okay. All right. Guys, I wanted to run something by you real quick. This might get a little wordy, but it's definitely worth talking about. Something to bring up in a conversation with Nebraska fans at the tailgate. Wanted to provide that for the Hawkeye fans that are listening to the podcast about the Nebraska comeback. How many national championships do you have? You guys don't have the success that we've had. Well, there's a little something called Proposition 48. I don't know. I know Russ is a college football junkie, so he may know a little bit about this, but Proposition 48, let's talk about what that is and how Nebraska took advantage of that in the 90s. It's a partial qualifier rule for a prospective athlete who meets only one of the 2 minimum academic requirements, either grade point average or a standardized test score. The minimum requirements are a 2.0 GPA or 21 on the ACT. So, or you could do a 2.5 GPA and a 17 on the ACT. So back in 1996, the Big 12 presidents, now you notice something about 1996, something stopped right around that time. Somebody stopped succeeding as much right around that time. And December 20th of 1996, the Big 12 presidents voted to unanimously limit each school to only four partial qualifiers for the whole athletic department, and you couldn't have more than 1 per team. So that was very interesting. So in the 1996 Fiesta Bowl, this is some very interesting stuff. Nebraska didn't follow the new rules. They started 4 guys that were partial qualifiers that weren't even academically eligible to play in the conference at that time. You'll never guess how many guys they had suited up to play on that team. 141 guys suited up to play. No, 141 guys on that team. 50 more players than Florida. 50 more than they had. So pretty interesting thing. So this is how they got around the system. A really great part. They took the partial qualifiers, and they also during that time had an open admissions policy for athletes where everybody could get in, and tuition per year was only $3,000. So essentially, this stuff's legit. It's out there. Look it up. It's legit. I've seen videos about it. I've read articles about it. Wanted to get what your guys' thoughts were. They were called a haven for non-qualifiers back in the day. 141 players on the Fiesta Bowl roster. Once that rule got changed, the article, went through and said, you notice programs like Stanford and Northwestern started to be a lot more competitive and had a lot more of a chance to play. So that's something, if you Google it and look up Nebraska partial or non-qualifiers, you're going to see a ton of stuff like this. Russ, I want to get your thoughts on this because I know you're a big college football guy. This stuff's legitimate. It actually happened. I mean, they figured out a way to really cheat the rules and cheat the system. And you notice once the Big 12 passed that rule, they were nowhere near as dominant.
Yeah, no, and there's no way they'd ever get away with that in the Big 10. I mean, Big 12's twisting everything around to get them into those games. I'll look up some of that and read on that. I mean, 141 people on the sidelines. I mean, how did they fit them all?
It's
incredible.
Well, and the thing is, if you look at the sidelines, so they had 141 players on the roster. So they would bring guys into games that nobody even heard of. And it was hard for teams to game plan for them because you got 141 guys on the roster. You got walk-ons like crazy. Well, you're going to get into school no matter what. And if you can pay a $3,000 a year tuition, which is pennies to go to college, that's quite the little scheme that they had hatched up that it's gotten talked about. If you look up the RJ Young podcast, and he's on FS1. I don't know if you guys have listened to him. It's called like the #1 ranked sports show, and RJ Young's a pretty well-known name on FS1. He does a whole episode about it, which is pretty interesting too. Kyle, I don't know if you've heard anything about that. What are your thoughts on hearing all that information?
Well, I just know that anytime I get in an argument with anybody about, whether it's a Michigan fan, Ohio State fan, a Nebraska fan, about their claim that we don't have any national championships. My thing is, Coach Ferentz and the staff there, they don't care if you're a 5-star recruit and a bad person. They want the right people on the bus. They want the right people on the team. They'd rather take a 2-star or a 3-star and mold them, and they're more concerned about how they can transform that person into a 4-star, 5-star, or an All-American, or an All-Pro, whatever it might be. So that's always my argument. And I know that it is a pretty competitive thing trying to get schools trying to get that competitive edge, and whatever they have to do to get that done. I don't agree with that particular aspect of it. But as far as Iowa goes, I'd much rather have it that way. I'd much rather be a 2 or 3-star and earn my way than be a part of something great and have coaches that really want to transform me and mold me into a great person, rather than being an awesome recruit and then being a very toxic person. And just polluting the environment. So.
No, very well said, Kyle. I think that's a great point. Russ, I need to say I don't know for a fact that all 141 guys are on the sidelines. They had 141 guys on the roster. Okay. So, but the limitations were not there. So they probably had a solid 80. And they had an insane amount of guys on the team. So it's really interesting. Everyone that's listening, I urge you to go look it up, read up on it. It's crazy that more people don't really talk about this. Matt, I know I've kind of talked to you a little bit about this in the past. What are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, You just keep throwing people at the field.
I can't even take him seriously with the crown on. Like, it's amazing.
Boom! It's starting to get hot. My hair's
the Burger King.
The king. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense why they were winning as often as they were if they had that many people on their rosters, and they were getting people that were, on their with those 4 players on their team or whatever, that the academics didn't matter. So it didn't matter who you recruited at that point. You had an open table. So
yeah,
there were some things that definitely benefited. Benefited the team.
Yeah. Well, the crazy part about it, the whole thing is just absolutely crazy. Jerry, what are your thoughts on that whole entire thing? I mean, I know that I really want you to take a hard stance on this and tell us what you think.
Listen, is it going to be really that surprising in a competitive environment if the rules were what they were? I mean, is anybody an extreme competitor not going to try to play it to their advantage if they can get away with it and it's not deemed illegal? Based on what you just gave and the years, I mean, I'd have to look into it, but if that's a fact, it would make sense. And if it put a change to being able to get a competitive edge that way, it would make sense and that they're not being as competitive. So, but ultimately, I'm going to be that guy though, but it's like, ultimately whatever they were doing, they won the national titles, and that's great. But guess what? Today's high school kids and some college kids now don't have a memory of Nebraska winning a national title. If it's been that long ago, how relevant really is it? So, they had a run that, like, I think it was Keith Murphy when you interviewed him. They had a run that, all of us would be jealous to have. But at the same time, guess what? It's been a long time ago. It's different day, different age, different trophy. So the
one thing too we got to say is, like, they had impressive players. They had great teams and they were dominant. They were fantastic, and they did kind of do it in a little bit of a shady way that a lot of people don't know. But you're still, even if you're being shady, you still had one of the greatest runs in the history of college football.
So anyway, I guess. Does it surprise me that whether it was Nebraska or who was trying to get away with something that they could under the pre-existing rules? No. Does it? I don't know though. Again, it's so long ago. I'd rather concentrate on what's coming forward than because you can't, whatever happened in the past, unless they were doing something illegal, you can't change it. So
no, absolutely. I just thought it was super interesting and something definitely noteworthy to bring up. Go ahead, Russ.
No, that is interesting. Yeah, I'll look forward to reading that later tonight.
Yeah. It's and look up again, like I said, on YouTube. RJ Young does a whole maybe a 30-minute episode about it. Podcast, pretty interesting. So, wanted to have you guys all kind of touch base too. Obviously we're a Hawkeye podcast based out of Nebraska. What kind of tips do you guys have for Hawkeyes traveling over to Nebraska, going to the game, tailgating? What things to maybe look out for? Maybe a couple bars they need to try out. Russ, being the restaurateur that you are, you'd have some really good food spots you can recommend to Hawkeye fans, and maybe some good places to tailgate.
Well, I can tell you a good bar to go to is that Hopcat. If you like craft beer, they've got like 130 different craft beers on tap. Pretty good food as well, but I mean, it's right there in the rail yard. There's several good places to grab a bite to eat, and more importantly, a few adult beverages before you make your way toward the stadium.
Absolutely. Jerry, what's some of the things you've enjoyed the most about going to Lincoln for that game, and maybe some tips of anything maybe people should avoid or things they need to definitely try?
I don't know. I usually just like having Russ tell me where we're going to enjoy some good beers. So, but anyway, and Russ, what's the name? The Boiler Room? Is that the other?
The Boiler Room's another good one. Yeah.
It's got more specialized. Okay. It doesn't have near the selection, but it's got some real specialized, and they do a really good job on their selections. And it's really fun. Is you can just right around the stadium there, you've got a lot of places you can kind of make your way around and just kind of crawl your way over to the stadium. And then if and then may ultimately make your way over to Hawks Field for the Nebraska Hawks Nest tailgate and join up with the real party. So
All right. And Matt, I don't know if you've heard, guys, and we're going to Matt next. Coming out on Tuesday, there's going to be released the official hype video for the Iowa-Nebraska game this week. So stay tuned to social media for that. The Hawkeye Hype Kids' dad, Jason Mason, very talented film editor, put together something for the Hawkeye football team. So yours truly made a quick appearance in it. And I think Mr. Canzeri might be in there too. So I think he's got a few maybe a few clips breaking off some long runs. You'll have to.
Schlicker, I think I've seen him in there too.
I was going to say, there might be a Mr. Schlicker in there too. I don't know. You got to tune in and find out.
Oh, Mr. Schlicker. He's in
Mr.
there
Chicago,
too.
Mr. GQ. We had to have some eye candy in the videos. So
yeah,
old Bruce Wayne himself.
Kyle definitely classes it up for us every time he's on here, so we appreciate it. So, all right,
I was already going to compliment the hair.
He's always got the best looking hair on here all the freaking time. So, for all those guys out there, Kyle, that are wanting to know what product is in that beautiful mane of hair, what are you using?
I'll tell you, I cut my own hair for probably 8 years when I worked for the Navy.
Okay.
I just, all the long commute I had, I just never found the time or the energy to say I'm going to go get my hair cut. So I just cut it myself. But now that I'm not doing that anymore, and I got to look a little bit more presentable in front of clients and stuff. It's this stuff. My son and I, we go get our haircuts together at Sport Clips, and we go there just because it's cheap, and it's a distraction for him because he can watch basketball or baseball while he gets his haircut. I don't know, man. It's like this tea tree oil stuff.
Okay,
it works. My wife likes it.
Okay,
I'm pretty simple, man.
Hey,
if my wife likes it, I stick with it. You know what I mean?
Kyle, I used that oil once.
I'm telling you, he's right. I've got my hair cut there a couple times. That MVP thing with the hot towel on your face and the scalp massage, it's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Like 100% in. Like, so Sports Clips, write a check. You can sponsor us anytime.
So Adam, we got to ask, we covered the Nebraska guys, but Kyle and Jordan, where are you guys going to be at for the game this weekend? Thanksgiving, Black Friday, you guys going to be doing anything fun? Or Jordan, you got some crutches you got some crutches to get you where you need to go? Or?
I mean, hey, if someone's willing to pick me up and bring me somewhere, yeah. But I know Thursday again brought family Thanksgiving dinner, so I'll be good. Haven't seen them. Obviously, we didn't have it last year with COVID, so that'll be good to see everybody. But
cool.
But yeah, as long as I'm able to sit, have my leg up, and watch some football, I'm good.
Awesome. We host every year for my wife's family here in Chicago, and then we and anybody else who wants to join us. But I usually get a big old fire going, and I've got 4 TVs in the house, so if like the kids are playing and it's too loud, I go in the basement and fire that one up. But usually my living room is pretty festive with football on the TV, man. Especially for this game, this is going to be a big one. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, anybody that's out there listening, if you want to meet Jerry, Russilla, or King Matt, we will be at the Nebraska Hawks Nest tailgate at Hawks Field at the Nebraska Cornhuskers baseball stadium right across from Memorial Stadium. So
I'm not bringing the crown to the tailgate.
Seriously?
The only way you get your prize is if you wear the crown, Maddie. So.
What? I thought you'd wear it into the stadium.
All right, guys.
That'll go over well, I'm sure.
We're going to finish off with our picks for the Wisconsin-Minnesota game. Obviously, we need to take care of business first. We need to win because if we don't, it doesn't matter. So we need to take care of business at Nebraska. Jerry, Wisconsin is a 6.5-point favorite at Minnesota in the Twin Cities, baby. Who you taking?
I would love to take Minnesota in this one, and it's a huge rivalry game, but Wisconsin's just rolling. I mean, I think Nebraska gave them their best shot, and they withstood it, and I just don't know. I can't not go against, I'd love to have Minnesota win it with my heart, but my head says I just got to go with Wisconsin and the points.
And Jerry, while I have you on here, you had some media for us that you were going to play while we were on here.
Was that the audio or?
Well, yeah. Did you have the video as well, or no?
Well, the video isn't quite working out here. So anyway,
right,
I can go ahead. I can go ahead and play some audio here for you if you'd like.
All right, you guys take a listen to this. This is something from KETV out of Omaha, and this is no joke. It's for real.
If it ever decides to play here. Oh, hold on, guys. Sorry.
It's that.
Frosty, the coach man, is a loyal, passionate guy, a former quarterback and national champ when the Huskers were flying high. Frosty, the coach man, led UCF to the Peach Bowl. Bill Moose made the call, he didn't drop the ball after losing took its toll. There must have been some talk from his former teammate Matt. He brought in his whole coaching staff, including this fun cat. Frosty, the coach man, saw Jebby leave in the fall. Went with number 2, liked the way that he threw, and Adrian running the ball. Frosty, the coach man, lost his first game to the rain. He started 0-2, then lost to Big Blue, but he never blamed the strain.
Holy cow!
All right, I think that's enough.
That went on. That's just a little
dated, but
that's just a little bit of taste of the stuff and the shenanigans. I know we try to stay positive about living in Nebraska as a Hawkeye fan. That stuff happened, and that it was for real. It wasn't even a joke. So anyway, Jerry, I want to hear everyone. We're going to get to your thoughts on the song, and then your pick for the Wisconsin-Minnesota game. So we got that from Jerry. King Matt, what'd you think of that beautiful tune, and who you taking? Wisconsin, 6.5-point favorite at Minnesota.
That was the worst song I've ever heard in my life.
Well, and the sad part about it is I thought that song was older. That was only uploaded 2 years ago onto YouTube.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I mean, it was not as old
hilarious. That's funny. I mean, that sounds like a joke somebody's playing on team, but it's not. Anyways, I've got unfortunately Wisconsin, I think, is going to cover the spread on this one. Wisconsin defense is solid against the run. Minnesota relies on the run. Minnesota don't have a whole lot of pass game, so I don't think this one's going to be tough for Wisconsin to cover that spread. Unfortunately for us.
All right, guys, he's the king of college football picks for a reason. So you know what? Take out a second mortgage on the house and bet it all on Wisconsin because Matt says so. Totally kidding. Totally kidding. All right. Kyle Schlicker. Man, what do you think this week is going to happen? Wisconsin at Minnesota. Is PJ Fleck going to row the boat to victory or not?
You know what, man? That yellow coat was so damn ugly. I am not a fan of Minnesota. I'm going with Wisconsin on this one.
All right. Well,
simple. Plain and simple.
I appreciate you guys keeping it real. We need Minnesota to win this. So, Russ, I hope you're going to bring some good news. Who do you got here? Wisconsin at Minnesota.
Well, since Matt's already been bestowed king in the competitions over, I'll go ahead and take Minnesota plus the 6.5.
All right.
We'll see if he can patch that boat and row it across the field or whatever the hell he's going to do.
Hey, and if you ever want to challenge Matt, if he wants to put the crown on the line, you say, Matt, I'm taking Minnesota. You put the crown on the line.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's holding off. He wants to hold on to that thing.
Me? No, I'll put the crown on the line.
I don't want to wear that damn thing.
Russ is playing hard to get. We all know how he really feels. All right, Jordan, who you taking in this one? Wisconsin at Minnesota.
I'm taking Minnesota. Minnesota, they're home. Hype, the energy. They know it's on the line because they're hoping for us to lose, and they're trying to beat, obviously, Wisconsin. And then who else? Purdue is ahead of them, I think, too.
No. Purdue's out of it though, so we don't have to worry about them.
But are they ahead of Minnesota? Like, because if I don't know if Minnesota beats Wisconsin, and then if we lose, that they wouldn't get it because I know they were under. I think they're under Purdue. Whatever. Yeah, Minnesota probably won't, but I just do think when you do look at their schedule, they beat Purdue. They what was it? I was just looking at. They beat Nebraska. I think, and they put 41 points up against Northwestern. You know, we had a little. It's just. I think it's just that time. Wisconsin, you know, they've been playing tight. They've been playing good, but games have been pretty close too for them. So I think they might be sleeping a little bit on Minnesota. And as much as we want them to win too, that's also part of the reason why I'm saying it. So I like to pick from here so much, even though that's why I'm not a great gambler. But that's
what Kyle does. Say that again, Kyle. Sorry.
I told you guys it's all emotions for me.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that. It makes it more fun too. Well, guys, that completes our final Swarm the 402 podcast for the regular season. Now, if it happens to work out and we win and Wisconsin loses, we will do one right before the Big Ten championship. If not, our next one and final one will be right for the year. Will be right before the bowl game. So, guys, Jordan,
sounds great.
Jordan, thanks so much for coming on, man.
More than happy to.
Dropping that on you at the last second.
And like you said, if all goes as planned and what we want, and we get the Big Ten championship and a really good bowl game, Big Ten championship I probably won't be able to go to. I don't think I'll be walking at that point, but I'm definitely trying to make the bowl game. So if y'all are going to be there, we'll definitely have to link up.
I'm going to the bowl game. I don't know about the other guys. I bet Russ would go. Russ, you going to go to the bowl game?
I've thought about it. Yeah, I think especially if it's the Citrus.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to go to Tampa.
I've been to
So
Tampa.
I'm hoping if we win, we get this.
Yeah, the Citrus. I'm hoping for the Citrus too. I've been to the Outback Bowl 3 times, so I'm ready for something different. So I'm hoping for the Citrus Bowl. They've done a lot of renovations to that stadium. Back when I went I was there for the Taste of Holloway Pass, and it was, I believe that was 2006, January 1st. It was not a great stadium, not a great atmosphere on the outside. It was pretty rough, but I've heard they've done a ton to improve it, and it's super nice now. So count me in for the bowl game, and if we make it to the Big Ten championship, Matt and I will be there for sure. So, Kyle, you ever make it to a bowl game at all?
No, guys, man, I have not been to a bowl game since I played, man.
This is the year.
This is, it's my wife. My wife keeps telling me. I think, I think as the kids get more settled down, we'll start going to have more games. And
yeah,
I'm actually impressed. You guys are already saying you're going to the bowl game. You don't even know where it's going to be.
No,
that's pretty damn cool. So
you got to be flexible. You got to be flexible with that. You just got to kind of sit back, and then once they announce it, you got to buy the plane tickets, get the hotel, and then wait on game tickets to see where the dust settles.
That's a hell of a commitment, and I will be there someday. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Kyle's got to fit it in his crime fighting schedule, though, too. So
It's true.
We all can't be Bruce Wayne. He's got a pretty important social calendar to adhere to.
Thanks for taking time for us, Kyle. We appreciate it.
It's always fun.
Next time, do it by the Batmobile.
And in your undisclosed location.
Seriously, thank you guys. We appreciate you being on here and putting up with us and making us look a little bit more respectable.
It's a fun time.
Again, Jordan, man, we can't thank you enough for those runs in 2015. Those are still highlights. Those of us here in Nebraska live by, man. Those were fantastic runs and
always good memories, good people, and I say to everybody, we got the best fans, best people, best culture, best everything around, and. And that's one thing I'll end with and wanted to almost mention earlier when we were talking about Nebraska and their past. It's like, yeah, they did what they did whatever, but like, what have they done now? Even besides football, Iowa itself, we have been on the map with wrestling, men and women's gymnastics, baseball, women's field hockey.
Oh yeah.
I think with soccer, they're doing good. The Children's Hospital is a national thing. It's like, Iowa, we're something that's continuing to grow, and in the NFL, we have guys out there killing it. So, it's definitely something I'm proud to be. And again, I'm always happy to join you.
Hey man, the feeling's mutual. All you guys that we get to interact with and have on here, it's nothing but pure class, and we just feel blessed and lucky as Hawkeye fans to have such great representation of the program that we love, like guys like yourself, Jordan and Kyle, that go out and represent the program with such respect every single day of your life during your career and after. So thanks again for that, and we appreciate it more than you guys will ever know.
Oh yeah,
Good stuff, man.
All right, guys, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.